Money today has no gold behind it, no silver, no fixed value, nothing solid beneath it at all. And yet people work for it, obey it, go to war for it, build empires with it, and watch their lives come apart when it fails. Your wages are priced in it, your taxes are demanded in it, your debts are enforced in it, your sense of security depends on it. That is the deeper strangeness of fiat money. A thing with no value in itself can still command labor, discipline society, and hold together an entire financial order. So why do people trust it? Most people think fiat money has value simply because the government says it does. But that is too shallow to explain something this powerful. A decree alone cannot make millions of people work, trade, save, borrow, and obey. Fiat money holds because it is built into the structure of life itself. Taxes are demanded in it. Wages are paid in it. Debts are enforced in it. Contracts are settled in it. What looks like belief is really something larger. Law, habit, dependence, and state power fused into everyday survival. The deeper paradox is this. People do not trust fiat money because they believe in it the way they might believe in gold. They trust it because they live inside a system that leaves very little room not to. Your salary arrives in it. Your bills are measured in it. Your rent is due in it. Your taxes are demanded in it. Your debts can be enforced in it. So even if you doubt the currency, you still have to move through it. To eat, to work, to borrow, to stay housed, to remain legible to the institutions that govern modern life. That is what makes fiat money so powerful. It does not survive on admiration. It survives because daily life has been built around it. And once a society prices labor, obligation, and security in one accepted unit, trust stops feeling like a choice. It starts to feel like reality itself. But this trust was not born with money itself. It had to be built. For most of history, people did not accept money simply because a ruler declared it valid. They looked for something more solid beneath it. Metal, weight, scarcity, the visible imprint of value. Trust had to be earned through substance, ritual, and repetition. That is what makes fiat money historically unusual. It asks society to accept value without intrinsic worth and to keep accepting it at scale. So belief in fiat was never a natural human instinct. It was a political achievement, built slowly through law, taxation, administration, and the growing power of the state. For much of history, money had to feel real before it could feel trusted. That usually meant gold or silver. A coin was not just a token of exchange. It was a piece of stored value, something you could weigh, test, hold, and compare. Trust did not begin with abstract belief. It began with metal, scarcity, and the visible promise that value existed inside the object itself. This mattered because trade was fragile. Rulers changed, borders shifted, armies moved. But a silver coin could still carry acceptance beyond the reach of any one kingdom. In that world, money did more than facilitate exchange. It stabilized trust between strangers. And yet, once societies learned to depend on that trust, rulers also learned something else. Whoever controls money can begin to reshape the world around it. Rome reveals the next stage of the story. At first, a silver coin carried trust because the silver was really there. Its weight mattered. Its purity mattered. The metal itself did part of the political work. But empire is expensive. Armies must be paid. Borders must be defended. Bureaucracies must be fed. And over time, Rome began to reduce the silver in its coins. This is what debasement meant. The image of value remained, while the substance beneath it thinned. And yet, people still used the money. Why? Because by then, trust no longer lived in metal alone. It lived in taxation, military power, imperial administration, and the daily force of Roman rule. That was the deeper shift. Money was becoming less a piece of precious matter and more a command issued by authority. Not just value you could hold, but order you were expected to obey. This was the transition that mattered. Fiat money did not appear all at once. It grew out of a long historical process in which states learned to replace institutional value with institutional power. First, money had to be trusted because of what it was. Then, gradually, it was trusted because of who enforced it. That shift changed everything. Money was becoming less a substance with value inside it, and more a system upheld by law, taxation, administration, and the organized force of the state. The next great leap came with paper. Early paper money was not trusted because it was paper. In many ways, that was the problem. A note could not be weighed like silver or tested like gold. Its value depended on something less visible and far more fragile: confidence that the issuer would restrain itself. That is why early paper systems were always conditional. They worked when states were disciplined, when redemption was credible, and when trade networks were strong enough to keep acceptance moving. In places like Song, China, paper money expanded commerce because it solved a real problem. Metal was heavy. Transport was risky. Trade was growing faster than coin could easily travel. Paper made exchange lighter, faster, and more scalable. But it also changed the balance of trust. Now people were no longer judging value in the object itself. They were judging the credibility of the authority behind it. And once issuance outran discipline, trust could turn very quickly. What had made trade easier could also make collapse travel faster. Paper money became truly decisive when it fused with the modern state. This was the turning point. Once governments developed stronger tax systems, permanent bureaucracies, central banks, and deep markets for public debt, money stopped being only a medium of exchange. It became an instrument for mobilizing entire societies. War accelerated everything. Armies had to be paid, weapons had to be produced, supply chains had to hold, and no stock of gold or silver was large enough or flexible enough to finance modern conflict at scale. So states turned to paper, credit, and sovereign debt. This changed the meaning of trust again. Now people were not only trusting money to hold value, they were trusting governments to survive long enough, tax deeply enough, and borrow credibly enough to sustain the system behind it. That is where central banking enters the story. A central bank did more than issue notes. It organized liquidity, stabilized state finance, supported bond markets, and helped turn political power into monetary confidence. But this came at a price. The stronger the alliance between money, debt, and the state became, the more daily life was pulled into the machinery of national survival. By then, money was no longer just helping societies function. It was helping states command them. That logic still governs modern money now. Fiat currency holds because the state keeps creating demand for it from multiple directions at once. First, taxes. You must obtain the currency the government requires, or you cannot fully participate in legal economic life. Then, law. Contracts, wages, fines, debts, and settlements are all organized in the unit the state recognizes and enforces. Then, central banking. A modern central bank does not create trust from nothing, but it helps preserve the system around trust. It supports liquidity, stabilizes banking, and acts as a backstop when confidence begins to crack. And then there is habit, the quiet force people underestimate most. You price your time in dollars. You measure savings in dollars. You compare risk, rent, salary, and survival in dollars. That repetition matters. Because once a currency becomes the standard language of obligation and daily exchange, trust no longer feels ideological. It feels ordinary. And that is why fiat money appears so natural, even though it is one of the most carefully organized forms of trust in history. But the same flexibility that made fiat money powerful also made it dangerous. Once money could be expanded beyond old material limits, states and financial systems gained room to maneuver and room to overreach. Inflation became easier to generate. Asset bubbles became easier to sustain. Rescues became easier to justify. Each time the system strained, more money, more credit, and more intervention could be used to hold it together. Sometimes that prevented collapse. Sometimes it only delayed it, while shifting the cost outward into weaker savings, higher prices, distorted markets, and a public asked to trust institutions that seemed to protect themselves first. That is the darker side of fiat. It does not just free governments from gold. It frees power from limits that used to restrain it. Fiat money did not come to dominate the world because it was neutral. It came to dominate because it served power exceptionally well. For states, it made taxation more flexible, war finance more scalable, and crisis management more immediate. For banks, it expanded credit, deepened dependence, and turned money creation into a source of structural influence. For empires, it extended reach. A currency accepted across borders could bind trade, debt, administration, and political order into one wider system. That is the real advantage of fiat. It does not simply move value. It helps organize obedience, coordinate institutions, and widen the reach of those already strong enough to define what money is. That brings us to the present. We now live inside the most advanced fiat world in history. Public debt sits at extraordinary levels. Money moves mostly as digits. Central banks stand behind banking systems too large to fail. And everyday life depends on financial structures most people never see. This has made modern money feel both more efficient and more abstract. A wage arrives as numbers on a screen. Savings become entries in an account. Debt expands quietly in the background, while assets rise faster for some than for others. That is part of the modern tension. Fiat money can stabilize a system at immense scale, but it can also deepen inequality, detach wealth from ordinary labor, and make trust feel increasingly uneven. People are still using the currency, still paying taxes, still measuring life inside the same unit. But beneath that surface, a harder question is forming. Not whether fiat money works, but how much debt, distortion, surveillance, and imbalance a society can absorb before trust begins to thin. History does not show that fiat money is doomed. It shows something more precise. Fiat can survive for long periods, sometimes remarkably long ones, when the state behind it remains credible, disciplined, and strong enough to enforce the order that gives the currency meaning. That means taxes must still be collected. Law must still be obeyed. Administration must still function. And the public must still believe that tomorrow's promises will not be carelessly sacrificed for today's relief. This is the lesson history keeps repeating. Fiat does not live on paper alone. It lives on institutional restraint, political legitimacy, and the state's capacity to organize trust without exhausting it. But when discipline erodes, when credibility thins, and when power keeps demanding belief after belief has already been spent, the currency may continue to circulate for a time, even as the social foundation beneath it begins to weaken. So in the end, fiat money is not just a currency. It is part of the invisible infrastructure of modern trust. It helps wages arrive on time. It helps taxes flow to the state. It helps debts remain legible, contracts enforceable, banks liquid, and institutions connected across an entire social order. That is why it feels so ordinary. And that is also why it is so dangerous to misunderstand. Because when fiat works, it does not merely circulate through society. It helps hold society together. But that same truth contains the warning. If modern life depends on a form of money sustained by confidence, discipline, law, and political credibility, then every abuse of that trust matters. Every distortion matters. Every promise stretched too far matters. History shows that civilizations rarely collapse the moment money weakens. They weaken first in belief, in the quiet erosion of restraint, in the growing sense that rules no longer bind power the way they bind everyone else. In the moment when money still moves, but trust no longer feels shared. That is the deeper strangeness of fiat money. It is one of the greatest tools of coordination ever built, and one of the most fragile. Because once a civilization builds its daily life, its obligations, and its future on organized trust, the question is never only whether the currency still circulates. The real question is whether the social order beneath it still deserves to.